Nearly 20 public events in 3 cities over 6 days. Pope Francis's U.S. itinerary is relentless. His inaugural visit as Pope marks the first papal visit to this country in 7 years. How will he be spending his time? After a 4-day stopover in Cuba, Pope Francis is due to arrive in the afternoon at Andrews Joint Air Force Base, where the White House says President Obama will be on hand to greet him. From there, he'll go to the Apostolic Nunciature, the papal state's equivalent of an embassy. The next morning, a welcoming ceremony at the White House South Lawn. He'll meet with President Obama before going to Washington, D.C.'s St. Matthew's Cathedral to pray with U.S. bishops. Later that afternoon, Mass at the Basilica of the National Shrine, where 30,000 people are expected. The next morning, Pope Francis addresses a joint meeting of Congress, a first for a pope. Around 2 hours later, he visits at St. Patrick's Church with homeless people and others served by Catholic Charities. Then he's off to New York's Kennedy Airport, where he'll catch a helicopter into Manhattan. The Pope will proceed down Fifth Avenue to host an evening prayer at St. Patrick's Cathedral, retiring for the night at the residence of the Vatican's representative at the United Nations. The next morning, the Pope addresses the United Nations General Assembly. From there, he'll swing downtown to visit the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, meeting with families of survivors and first responders on the plaza, and taking part in a multi-religious service inside the museum. Next, he proceeds uptown for a visit with 3rd and 4th graders at Our Lady Queen of Angels School in East Harlem. He wraps up his public events for the day with a procession through Central Park and a 6 p.m. Mass at Madison Square Garden for an expected 20,000 people. The next morning, Pope Francis departs New York, taking a short flight to Philadelphia. He arrives by motorcade for Mass at the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul. Later that afternoon, he delivers a speech at the City of Brotherly Love's Independence Hall on the topics of immigration and religious freedom. Then that night, a parade through downtown Philadelphia as the Pope makes his way to the International Festival of Families. On his final full day, the Pope joins with bishops at St. Martin's Chapel in Philadelphia before going to a nearby prison where he'll meet with inmates and their families. Afterward, he leads Mass for the conclusion of the World Meeting of Families and then heads to the airport to return to Rome.